Hello, everyone. Welcome to the press. Uh,
Press X Culture podcast.
yes. Oh man, I'm
It's also on the
I'm
top of your screen.
yes. Code. Wow, goes to show where my mind's at right now. Hello, everyone. I'll let my co-host do the proper introductions because he's more professional than I am.
Welcome, everyone. We are here with another episode of Code and Culture, podcast featuring two unique perspectives. Okay, how has your week been?
It's been a good week. A lot of exciting game stuff was revealed specifically for the Sonic franchise. I really enjoy. Thank you for not making a joke already. I appreciate that. And outside of that, just I finally I beat a game for coverage. I will talk about that in a moment. And overall, everything's going pretty well on my end. I just got the heads up for everyone now. It's flu and COVID season. Get your shot while you can because you don't want to be sick. Hopefully, I don't know. But
Maybe they want those work days off.
maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe people like being sick. Who knows? We don't know what this. We don't know what's going on right now. People are weird sometimes, brother. You don't know.
well, well, that's an eventful start, but I guess I'm doing well and you're doing well, so let's start this show.
Absolutely, and it's good to hear you're doing well too, man.
Yeah, I had my birthday this week, so I'm doing pretty well.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thanks very much. Now, I guess let's just warm up with a few small stories. If that sounds good to you?
That sounds good to me, man.
All right, we can. This is a tiny story we can like, gloss over, but the PlayStation Network was down, and then Xbox the following day.
I was gonna make a PlayStation. I was gonna make a wow. Sony's repeating is doing a remaster of the PSN outage joke, but Xbox happened to Xbox too. So you can't really make a joke like that when they both mess up on that end.
Yeah. Xbox always so jealous of PlayStation.
I know, right? It's crazy, but I honestly it makes me wonder like if because this I remember this type of thing happens like around like the holiday season typically when like the servers are either overwhelmed by people registering new accounts when they buy the new consoles or hackers and whatever try to ruin people's day when a lot of people are buying consoles because it's fun. I don't know it is, but considering we pay for these services to access our console, it is not ideal that they have full like shutdowns for over 24 hours or a similar like length of time. And it's particularly damning on the Xbox side of it since unlike PlayStation where it's like, oh, just whatever, you can play your stuff offline. It's whatever. You don't really have to mess with any settings. On Xbox, you have to set your console to primary console. Because if you don't do that, if you have no internet connection, you can't play games.
Hmm.
So, made something something Xbox should look into is just making that a default option from when you boot the console up. But then
Yeah.
again, you need internet to even start the console in the first place. So I don't know.
I had a kind of interesting experience that day
Ooh,
because I didn't have where you can play your digital games offline enabled.
on Xbox?
Not my PlayStation.
Oh wait, there's an option on PlayStation where you have to keep it. You can't play
You
offline.
can. There's a setting, but there's like if you have like your account on two consoles, basically, you have to like disable it one console, enable on a different console. Can't have it
Oh, okay.
enabled on both consoles.
You have two PS5s?
I had game share with my friend.
Okay, okay.
Well,
So when,
anyways, I was trying to, I didn't play any of the games I was playing before because I decided I looked like in my physical collection and like what can I play that'll install quickly, and I visited some Assassin's Creed games.
nice.
But actually it was like because it wasn't just about going down the old glory, but I am doing some of my say code part, and I was trying to analyze some of those levels, like the level design for a
That's
project I've
awesome.
been working on. So it was like that outage kind of benefited me in a way.
Nice. When the outage happened, like it was like late at night, I
Yeah.
believe, on my end. So I was basically sleeping like a baby when that happened. I'm like, oh, it was down. Okay, and I was gonna write a story about that, but the servers fixed themselves right when I started my shift. So there's nothing to write about. That's good.
Yeah. Another thing I've updated is I've got myself a PlayStation Portal.
Oh, nice. How is it?
It's actually a pretty useful gadget.
Are
Excuse me,
you like
but
are you primarily using it at home or are you using it like outside?
primarily at home, just around the home instead of always being my gaming setup. It's quite convenient though. Like it feels really good like a controller. It doesn't even because it's not really convenient to play on the phone.
That's true. Like,
And the
uh,
screen is huge.
I saw one in person at a GameStop, and I asked, "Hey, can I hold this?" And like, "Oh, sure." I looked at the screen. I'm like, "How? This is just—it's just a tablet with two two halves of a dual sense strapped onto it."
Yeah, but it's like pretty well. Like it feels really good to use. I started what's it called, Zao, recently.
Oh, you
On the
that Zao is the game you played on it?
Yeah. Well, first I was I was finishing the last Astro levels I had, and then I decided I want to try Zao. I feel like that's a good Portal game.
It's a good handheld game. I'm kind of I never got the game on Switch. I played it on PlayStation, so I don't know how it runs on Switch. But I imagine a game like that is really fitting for like a handheld environment.
Yeah,
And glad you enjoyed it.
honestly, I haven't even had any issues like doing like console games on it either.
So the latency on your end isn't really an issue.
No, it's pretty smooth. Like there's like a few times where the internet dips a bit, but like most of the time it's pretty smooth.
You got your PlayStation wired or
Yeah, I
Wi-Fi?
have it wired.
That's probably why. Like that's my experience of PlayStation streaming stuff where like I tried using cloud streaming with both PS3 games and like actual PS5 games. I think I mentioned a while
I'm
back.
in a unique position because I
Go
don't
ahead.
have just like a single router. I have this called a mesh system where it's like three boxes you put around your house.
Hmm.
So I put one next to my PS5 and wired it because I have like basically three mini routers spread around my house.
So I have one router, so I think maybe that's why when I it,
Yeah,
streaming stuff, it's like very like high quality, maybe.
yeah. But yeah, I'll be using this device quite a bit over time.
I'm glad you're giving Zao a shot. I haven't. I was one of the games I beat this year, and I really enjoyed it. Like
Yeah.
it's the music is amazing, the visuals are solid, the story is engaging, and there were emotional moments that really made me go wow. So I hope you stick with it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Speaking of back to Assassin's Creed, so I don't know if you remember, but Assassin's Creed Syndicate was one of the games from PS4 that had backwards compatibility issues.
They fixed it, right?
Yeah, but I was offline. I was playing an unpatched version.
Oh no.
Well, it's like it's not like a big issue, but it's like this like random light flickering basically.
Oh come on, you experienced the seizure mode, right?
Like actually, like I guess in like some parts, like the introduction wasn't an issue, but once I got released into open world, like oh, there's that bug.
I'm kind of curious why that even was a thing in the first place. Like, I would assume
I would
that
assume it's
PlayStation.
something unique about that version, that because it's that game specifically. All the other Assassin's Creed games didn't have any backwards issues.
A couple, specifically since we're on the topic of that, a handful of games have that issue. Like sometimes it's minor, sometimes it's major. Like Until Dawn, the PlayStation 4 version, for example, there's this weird glitch with like the lantern where it runs at like a lower frame rate while compared to like everything else in the game. Um AEA game Until Deep, whatever it's called, and that game's just straight up broken on PS5. And as you mentioned already, some of the Assassin's Creed games have minor issues on PS5.
I don't. I
And
think it's just only one of them.
I thought there was a couple of Ubisoft games that had
No,
issues.
it was just that one. Because I remember, they made a list of like what games wouldn't be compatible
Yeah,
on PS5, and Assassin's Creed Syndicate was that one game
it makes you
that was
wonder
on the
why.
list. And it took them like, I think they patched it this year.
Well, the reason why they fixed it is they added it. The cynical reason is because they added it to PlayStation Plus, and they're not gonna be putting a broken game on PlayStation Plus service. Then
I
again,
mean, to be fair, they've been
PlayStation.
patching a few of the Assassin's Creed games because I think Origins and Odyssey got 60 FPS patches.
Yeah, but that's kind of a different situation completely. This is like with Syndicate, they went back and just did something specific for PS5 to kind of make it so the game is authentic to the artist's vision rather than, hey, we're adding a uncapped frame rate mode for this game because the console's able to do it, unlike a PS4 Pro was unable to. That again, but the cynic in me believes that the reason why Ubisoft went back and tried fixing it is because they knew it was going to be on PlayStation Plus, and they didn't want people complaining in flux. Oh, there's why is that? Why is like the seizure thing going on? But sorry, tangent.
Yeah, what I think I think that their work is pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's good that everything is fixed, and it just didn't extend to like the
This next
glory days.
article is slightly connected, by the way.
Hmm. Go
A
ahead.
good transition is California forces digital stores to admit players don't own their content.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I have a collection of physical games, but with this generation specifically, I predominantly buy most of my stuff digitally. So I'm kind of in the boat of, I mean, I paid money for this thing and I expect to have access to it, even when like it's the bare minimum is if something is delisted and I bought it, at least let me download it again. I think that's a reasonable thing to ask for.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's just funny to finally see them admit it.
Well, I mean, they don't want lawsuits, and they're probably figuring, well, we have like we're gonna be launching a $700 pro console that doesn't include the disk drive, so let's get ahead of the curve,
Oh
you know.
yeah, that's for sure. Speaking
Oh,
of our next story, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say I don't know if this was gonna be what you was gonna say next, but you or was you gonna bring up the 30th, right? 30th anniversary PS5 Pro thing?
No, but we can jump to that before we get to my story.
Okay, so Sony revealed a 30 anniversary like bundle for that for $1,000 in US money for that includes the PS5 Pro with plates themed after the original PlayStation, a, standard DualSense with the PlayStation 1 coloring, a DualSense Elite with the PlayStation Pro coloring, some extra goodies, and most amusingly, a PlayStation 1 themed disc plate cover, but no disc drive. $1,000, everyone. It's great. And if you live in other countries, have fun. But interestingly enough, even though this bit went out of stock immediately, you can still easily pre-order in for PlayStation 5 Pro right now if you really want one. So it kind of begs the question of how many people really want this thing or not.
The Pro or the anniversary?
I mean, everyone who wanted the anniversary got one, and if they didn't get one,
Ah, a lot of people
scalpers.
didn't get one.
Oh well, I'm sorry to assume that. Hopefully
Only
the scalping
12,000. So
prices. Hopefully the scalping prices isn't too bad, or some PlayStation wises up and sells the anniversary plates because they're just plates. You don't need to make a whole. Anyway, what's your comments on all that?
mm, I expect the Pro not to be this ultimate selling console. I expect it to be kind of niche like the PS4 Pro was, but this one's even less necessary than the PS4 one because the PS4 one was for the OLED TVs.
Mhm. Yeah, but when the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X dropped, keep in mind a lot of people are just upgrading the 4K TV, so the jump to higher resolutions actually mattered a lot. And with these new consoles, the jump was better performance and maintaining the leap that the Pro models of that time offered. Now with the PS5 Pro, well, games well, you get better image quality for some stuff, and games do run a little bit better. In the case of like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it I don't know. For me, I just continue to look at the Pro and just kind of just shrug my shoulders at it. Like I'll just wait for the PS6. Like if that's $700, $800, fine, whatever. But like with a Pro that's $700 and you're just getting a minor bump, I personally don't really see the value in that, but that's just me. If people see the value in that, good, God bless, and hope you manage to get one of these things. But I'm sorry I hijacked your topic. Now, your turn.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've heard about Annapurna Interactive.
About like
How
what was the
everyone just
change?
walked out and quit.
Yeah, that's it.
That
Makes
was
me
the
want.
original story, though. There's more to the story.
Hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, so Jason Schreier, a famous journalist, did essentially an expose or report from Bloomberg, who reveals like the behind the scenes and what really happened at Annapurna.
What
So,
happened?
so basically, there's this current head. Was the current head? His name was Nathan Gary, and like I think he was with Geoff Keighley in a restaurant or something. And basically, there's this old person who used to work at Annapurna but was like pushed out by everyone, basically. And like he was like having the dinner with the CEO of Annapurna. And basically, I guess they hated each other or something, and like that caused a whole bunch of drama.
So the from the you can correct me if I'm wrong. From the sounds of it, two higher ups in the company had a pretty big argument, and that
And,
resulted in
no,
people.
basically he was like fired like a long time ago, but it seems like the C because Annapurna Interactive is part of a larger company, I believe. Annapurna itself. And basically, the CEO was like talking with that ex-employee who got basically let go. Basically, like everyone at the company did not like that person, and like I guess this he was smoozing the CEO to come back.
So people walked out because the CEO was reconsidering hiring him again.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, let me just go through this article for you.
Thank you, because I'm out of loop on this.
Allegedly, Sanchez he takes credit for the works of others. Two incidents he made unwanted advances toward female colleagues. Like he was just not well liked at the building for obvious reasons.
Of course.
And apparently he had like a close relationship with the CEO, so that's why like a lot of people also didn't like him.
Makes you wonder, like everyone walked out because the CEO is going to give this guy a second chance from the sounds of it, and that has a pretty massive ripple effect on the company. Like Annapurna is the publisher of a lot of talented, amazing indie games. Like Stray was like that. That's them, for example. That's one example. That's something they had their hands on. And while stuff that's in the pipeline right now isn't affected, it's still a damn shame to see all the hard work this company done just being thrown
Well,
out the window.
there's more to this also.
Okay.
So originally, I guess the Ellison, who's the CEO, I believe, she was considering selling the company and changed her mind. And I guess the people at the gaming side of Annapurna, they wanted to spin off the company to, Annapurna Interactive, like its own gaming company, basically.
I know they made a movie division recently, and they're partnering with
Yeah,
Outright people.
yeah. That was when, you know what happened? That ex-employee, because, everyone walked out.
Yeah.
So the ex-employee who came back, he was the one who made a deal with Remedy.
Wow. Oh. So they made that was one of the things that caused the chain reaction potentially.
Yeah. No, it was like post, like after everyone left.
Oh wow.
And then after she changed her mind for, from selling the company, because everyone reported to that person I was telling you about, his name was Gary, but then she just demanded that everyone report to Gary and her at the same time. And this caused a development problem because they needed her, like her approval of stuff, and they have to contact her, and they just couldn't reach her so many times.
But they can reach out to this other dude easily if they wanted to.
Like she would often hold up project timelines by being hard to reach, and the rest of the team would not be able to move forward.
That's not right.
And then between at this point in the report, back to 24, a conversation to Elsa and Gary. Gary ended up fired or being resigned. But the the next part, which is the most interesting part, is that Ellison was said to left the negotiating team how the interactive team would be spun off. But Ellison was the one who reportedly proposed the spin-off in the first place.
Sounds like a mess all around, honestly.
That was the other guy I was telling you about who was being brought back, Sanchez. He, unbeknownst to the Interactor team, on the Annapurna picture side, helped bring the deal with Remedy, where Annapurna would finance control to development for TV and film adaptations.
At least one positive is coming out of all this, I
And then
guess.
at that point, everyone resigned.
I wish I had more to comment on, but I'm just completely out of the loop here. Just damn shame to see all that hard work being thrown out the window. Kind of.
But yeah, it was just a chaotic story, which just seems like a hard to work with CEO.
I guess we don't have much to comment on with this topic, so it's time to move
Just
on.
unfortunate, really, because it's like really good. Some really good games come from that company, like Stray.
They also, I'm kind of at a
I don't like Stray, by the way, but it was a pretty good looking game.
look, man. I'm a cat person, so I mean, I have a soft spot for any game company or publisher that does something interesting with cats. They got my attention, but just jokes aside, they have their hand. They're a very prominent force in the indie space in gaming, and with AAA development really kind of hitting a ceiling in terms of what can be done visually and all these other things and budgets and all this. Indies need to have a home and be able to thrive. And if one of these publishing houses gets messed up or shuttered, it's going to cause problems. Like this happened with Private Division not too long ago, and this happening here at Annapurna, and we can only hope that other places like Humble. Well, even Humble got affected too, if I remember correctly. I guess we could just hope that Digital Devolver is unscathed all in terms of all the layoffs and all this stuff happening in the industry, but we can only be hopeful.
Oh yeah, we certainly can. But yeah, it was just a really interesting story. It's like because it's a company that clearly has ambitions for movies and TV, and those two parts of the company clearly clashed.
Well, at least in terms of the movie side of things, they hey, partnering with Remedy, like they have a flair for cinematics. So working with them on any kind of adaptation for one of their properties is a pretty smart decision, I would say.
It's also very difficult because they have a I don't know, their IP are very unique. They're kind of hard to adapt in comparison to other games.
I was very confused when I played Control, so I have no
Yeah,
comments.
Control. Well, I guess you could. I guess Alan Wake is kind of like Twin Peaks, if you know that show. It's
Familiar.
more. It's like a mystery horror, I guess you could call it. That would be easy to do because the games already act like a TV show and they're like episodic format.
Yeah, and the story of Alan Wake, from what everyone has said, is really good.
Yeah, but I think we can wrap that part up. Let's talk about Nintendo suing Power World.
Yeah, and when you step on Nintendo's feet with character designs that look strikingly similar to designs you made yourself, um, this you're unfortunately asking for attention you probably did not want in the first place. But that's not why Nintendo is suing them technically. They're suing them because of patents, like we can throw a Pokemon. Oh, we own the rights to throwing a ball to catch a creature. Okay, you also have patents for a ton of other things too that every single video game in existence utilizes. Are we gonna go down the rabbit hole of you suing Sony for using half your mechanics in Astrobot? Is that the next step? Are we gonna sue Sega for the one time that Sonic tried to copy Mario Galaxy with Lost World? Like I don't really think this is a thing that should be any more than just Nintendo just bullying a company to just stop being popular and stepping on the IP they're working with. Another thing that Nintendo recently did was they shut down one of the Switch emulators, likely in like an effort to prevent people from playing their Nintendo titles early and in better quality than on a native Switch,
Hmm.
because it's related. It's all related to the Zelda games coming out early. People were playing Tears of the Kingdom weeks ahead of like a good I think maybe 2-3 weeks ahead of launch, and people played the latest one early through the emulators, and that obviously those are some bad apples, and that should not like talk about the emulation community, because the emulation community for a whole host of systems is doing God's work. Like people have been complaining for like, where's Bloodborne? Sony's doing nothing. So what did the people do? Take matters into their own hands and somehow got a PlayStation 4 emulator up and running on PC, and you can play Bloodborne right now on PC, and it with all like frame rate boosts and all these bells and whistles, and all that happened because Sony did nothing with the franchise. Like, and like as someone who's in the Sonic scene, seeing the work that the Sonic community has done with like full on ROM hacks and everything, it's crazy. Like, so the emulation community and all these other communities that are trying to preserve gaming shouldn't really be squashed. And going back to Power World, Nintendo, this is just another case of Nintendo bullying a company that is trying to be more to do something they're doing, but in the eyes of a lot of people, Power World is the better game than Pokemon. And with Sony getting the put movie rights and media rights for that, and that got their attention because if you look at Pokemon, you got animes, you got movies, you got a whole host you got trading cards, you got plushies. There's a whole section in the Nintendo store full of Pokemon plushies. Like Pokemon's a juggernaut, and Nintendo does not want anyone messing with that money flow. And this is just a straight case of Nintendo bullying a company. But I will just say this to kind of wrap things up on my end. In terms of like what the Powell's, what the developers, what can they do? They could make more. They can make character designs that are not copies of Pokemon characters because that does not really help their case. Like there's literally a penguin Pokemon that looks like a Piplup, for example. That's just one of many examples. So I don't know. This, it feels like it's a bad situation. But at least it's out in Japan on PlayStation, so that's good, I guess.
I thought it wasn't out in Japan because of the lawsuit.
Well, despite the lawsuit, it recently came out on PS5 in Japan. So I mean, they probably said bet, and we'll see what happens with that, I guess.
I don't have much to say about Nintendo and Power to say per se, but I'm not sure how I feel about these game mechanics being patented exactly.
The Nemesis system.
Yes, the Nemesis system.
I had a feeling. I looked at your face and like, yeah, that's what he's thinking about.
Well, I have a game design mind, and I thought it's such a brilliant system. Unfortunately, nobody else can use it or be inspired by it.
The rival, come on, man, you can get around this. The rival exchange. You know, just change some words around. You know, this is just jokes. Don't seriously take my advice. Anyway, you can figure something out.
Well, yeah, you can figure and work around it, but like, this is just a lot of time and resources wasted.
Damn shame when like mechanics are patented and you can't.
Yes, throwing a spear.
Wow, that's crazy. It's crazy, man. You know, one of the patents Nintendo has is you go behind a wall and your character is transparent and you can see them. How many freaking games have that mechanic? I think that's probably built in Unreal Engine 5 as one of the development tools as default. I'll be very surprised if that wasn't in like the default engine stuff. So it's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's just. I don't have anything else to say, but curious how this goes.
The funny part is Powell doesn't even play like Pokemon. It plays like a survival game. So in terms of mechanics, like you have the Nintendo has a better shot at going like to one of the actual Pokemon clones out there. It's just Powell is exploded in popularity, and the character designs look so similar to Pokemon that they got themselves in the hole then by having such similar art direction. If they went for a different art direction, maybe they could have avoided Nintendo's attention potentially. But this is like it is what it is type thing. You can't change things that happened already.
Yeah, I think. You have anything else to say?
Nah, I think I'm good with Powell stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of funny how it's kind of good into time that State of Play to say it's out now.
Sony probably is like, well, let's just talk. Well, we'll just flip the band-aid off, and I guess we can transition right into the State of Play. So Sony had a State of Play, and a lot of games were revealed.
Yes, we'll have a segment dedicated to the State of Play.
Oh, we're not up to that point yet. Okay, I did not mean for the awkward transition. You go, Seahawk.
Oh, because since it's been a while, there is one story which you and me are both probably tired of talking about this game. If you can guess.
Is it Horizon?
It's Concord.
Oh, you mean oh wow.
400 million
What are you
story.
talking about? That doesn't exist. I can't download it on my PS5. It never happened. Right? Concord doesn't exist in Bossing Say. There's an Avatar game that's coming out from Saber, the Warhammer Space Marine 2 guys. So keep an eye on that. Anyway, God, all the stuff for Concord is just baffling. It's just
I'm not
baffling.
interested about discussing Concord. I'm more interested about talking about PlayStation's development costs.
You know how much money they pissed away making that when they could have used that money to make a new. They could have used all the money they used to make Concord to make a double A slot Koopa game, a new Gravity Rush.
Well, that was never gonna happen.
Why are you pissing on my dreams, brother? Why?
Bro,
Why?
I'm just being realistic. That's like saying they should bring Infamous back. Like that's never gonna happen.
Yeah, they should bring Infamous back. I
And
love those
it's
games
being
on PS3.
unrealistic. It's a game that sold 7 million copies.
I was part of that 577 million, man.
I like
I
Infamous
supported it.
too, but you gotta be realistic. These are IPs that are gonna stay dead,
Oh,
and
that's
that's why
fine.
they're not being remastered.
Oh, that's fine. I can't wait to buy Horizon for the 8th time on my PlayStation 6 in 2020 and 2030. It's gonna be great. Oh, what about Last of Us Part 1 remaster? That's gonna be great on PlayStation 6, right? Oh, what about God of War remastered
I
on
believe there's a God
PlayStation
of War
5?
collection coming.
I hope it's a collection. I hope it's like, jokes aside, I really hope they get the PS2 era games and
It
put that
shouldn't
in a
be
package.
hard since they're already porting most of the PS2 games.
I know it shouldn't really be that difficult, especially since they figured out the emulator, and they got a working PS2 and PSP emulator, and both are pretty dang good. So I think it's time
But
with the
I
God.
feel like they're not gonna emulate. They're gonna do like a whole remastered thing.
Well, it depends on what you mean by that. Do you think they're gonna go the extra mile and give it like visuals on par with God of War 3, or do you think it's just gonna be souped up PS2 games?
Souped up PS2 game. It's just gonna be like a dedicated remastered thing, which they can sell for 70 bones.
If they include the PS2 games and the PSP games in one package, I do not mind. I love though. That's the
Wasn't God
God
of
of
War 3
War.
already remastered?
Yep, God of War 3 was already remastered. The only on PlayStation 5 right now, you can play God of War 1 and God of War 1, 2, sorry, God of War 1 and 2 HD through streaming. You can play God of War 3 natively with the PS4 remaster. You can play God of War Ascension with streaming, and obviously the the 2018 game and Ragnarok are native on PlayStation. So yeah, but the PSP games are notably not playable on PS5 right now in any form, from my understanding. So I'm guessing PlayStation is waiting on bringing those via the classics program. They're
I
running out of
think I
games.
think I think they're doing a collection.
I think I would love that,
I
but
believe because I think the 25th anniversary is next year.
it's next year. Well, you know what? Alongside the Days Gone remaster and Last of Us Part One remastered, I'm looking forward to the God of War collection. That's going to be really nice.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyways, back to the actual
Jokes.
news story before you derailed us into remasters.
Yes.
Concord reportedly, I would say a highly trustworthy source, cost 400 million, but not just through PlayStation, through its previous publisher as well.
Shout out to Colin Moriarty. I can't talk.
Colin
Shout out,
Moriarty.
yeah, shout out to Colin from Last Stand Media Sacred Symbols for breaking that story on Sacred Symbols.
Just to be clear, I do believe it's true.
I believe him too. I fully believe that was the case
Because you can
because,
go
like,
back in time through the news stories and see that was I forget? Probably Monsters. That's the name of the original publisher.
Yep.
They raised funding. I think about 200 million or so. So like there's your first 200 million about, and
I
then
wouldn't be
Sony
surprised.
probably invested a bunch more once they bought them.
I mean, like looking like there's a whole episode dedicated to Concord and that secret level show. You know how
Yep,
much money that probably costs? You know, I know probably how much money it costs for all the animation work and the mocap stuff for cutscenes that are never gonna see the light of day now.
it's gonna come out. So the Amazon show.
Yeah, the Amazon show, but all the work from the cutscenes in game that all the mocap people did, the voice actors did, that's never coming out. That's money that's literally pissed down the drain. At least with the sequel level show, that's coming out, and places be like, people gonna be like, imagine a reality where the secret level show does a better job at selling people on the idea of Concord than all the marketing and the game, and people wonder, oh, that's cool. Where's the game? The game doesn't exist. You can clown on Xbox all you want, but at least Redfall is playable right now. Oh God,
Unfortunately,
it's better now, but it's not particularly amazing game.
I'd rather not play it, honestly.
But yeah,
But back to
everything
Concord.
everything with Concord is the biggest failure in PlayStation history, and that is wild when you consider like some of the other failings that PlayStation did, like $5.99 back in like that magical E3 where you have to we
I
killed
have
the
a
time
suspicion about
crabs.
that thing.
Go ahead.
I feel like for the reason the PS6 Pro is set $699 instead of $599 is because they did not want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
But I hmm.
I feel like that wasn't like the main reason, but I'm sure it was like, yeah, let's not touch $599.
But $6.99 isn't that much better. In fact, it's worse.
I mean, it's worse, but
Your
it's not the
perspective.
same. They
It's
fear
not
that
the
price. They fear that price like the plague.
dude. I get what you're saying, but like the price is still the price is still high.
It is high, but like they don't got the bad juju.
Agree
It's
to
just
disagree.
it's. I'm not saying it's not bad, but like I just think this is the future for consoles now. But they
Yeah,
probably they know they can get away with it. Like they know it's a niche console and they can get away with it.
I feel like for console, it's gonna be a bitter pill to swallow, but that's not the topic right now.
No, but yeah, Concord cost 400 million. It was, as they say, Herman Holst championed this game himself and created toxic positivity.
Also, it ties into some of the announcements at the state of play. So let's.
Just interesting things. So many toxic positivity cases these days. We have Ubisoft with their toxic positivity, Suicide Squad, $1 billion franchise. They said internally.
That's crazy. The
Yeah.
next star, the next Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that's the Concord. Apparently, it was said internally that would be the next Star Wars. But like, I don't want to talk about this game much, but I just want to say there's some serious shenanigans going on.
Unfortunately,
Yep. Hopefully, I remain optimistic about Fair Games. Hopefully, things turn out better for that game.
they have to.
They have some real talent there, so I'm a bit more optimistic.
Same with that rumored Horizon Online game, which Gorilla is full steam ahead on.
Also led by Ubisoft veteran. Because they got the Rainbow Six director, I think. Because I heard about like, was it 2018? I heard about that.
Hmm.
How they
Makes
recruited
you
the
wonder.
Rainbow Six director or someone on that team.
it makes you wonder. Like, you have all the reports of Ubisoft in hot water right now. Everyone's saying Tencent, but Sony has a very strong history with Ubisoft in terms of like so many of their developers being in their development houses.
Yeah.
So makes you wonder if if say Ubisoft inevitably has the mass layoffs that Microsoft
You should see
has.
how many people from Sucker Punch are former Ubisoft devs.
Really?
I don't know if you know Ubisoft Quebec. They made AC Odyssey.
Yeah.
A lot of that team is basically gone now. There's like a lot of newer people now. And a lot of them went to places like Sucker Punch
Hmm.
and worked in Ghost of Tsushima.
The more
So
you
yeah,
know.
there is a ton of Ubisoft devs at Sony.
And speaking of PlayStation,
Yeah, Ubisoft is not good at maintaining their talent. And that's why their games have dipped so much over the years. Because they recruit young, and they struggle to maintain their veterans.
reminds me of around the time of the like the after like everyone's like, oh my god, Sonic Generations is so great, and then later Sonic games came out like Lost World and Forces, and everyone's like, wait, why are people? The credits aren't the same. Why does level design more linear of this, that, and the third? And then you realize a lot of the people that made Unleashed, Colors, and Generations, they got poached by developers at Nintendo, Monolith, Square, and so the lesser quality of those games is because they had to staff up with different people, and it was a whole learning process. And only recently with the latest Sonic game, Shadow Generations, they publicly stated that some people that worked on Generations came back to help out level design. So it's interesting how things turn out.
Yeah, but back to Concord,
Yes.
it's real shame. You don't want to see a $400 million flop.
Makes you to kind of end the discussion on Concord. What do you think's going to happen with the developers? Do you think they're going to be absorbed into Bungie? Do you think they're going to get lit? Sony's going to just shut the studio down, or do you think they're just going to poach the highest talent and just funnel that into whatever studios
I
are
think
within?
you might see a similar case of what happened with Deviation Games.
Hmm, that
So
makes a lot of sense.
you saw you saw the studio like let go, but you saw some talent acquired and kept.
Hopefully, not the art team. Not being a jerk, but the art direction for Concord is not great.
Yeah, it is was not great. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Concord. What a game.
What are you talking about? Concord doesn't exist in Bossing Say.
But yeah, you have a what do you have to say about Concord?
I don't have any additional comments on a game that basically unalived itself before our very eyes. That only lasted on market for 2 weeks. Not even.
Yeah, that was insane.
That's crazy. Sony just said we're not paying for the servers. Bye.
That was wild. Now,
It makes
before we move on to the big state of play, let's talk about Ubisoft.
they're on fire right now, brother.
Yeah, they're on fire, but we have good news. Assassin's Creed Shadow was delayed.
Yes.
And we have some internal stuff from Tom Henderson and the man himself, who gave us some details.
Take it away, Mr. Ubisoft. You know more
So
about.
there's been wild rumors about Yasuke. You know what they say? They're gonna change him, remove him from the game, which is nonsense.
What a little nonsense. You're not gonna cut a character out like that.
But they are making some changes. They said they started this before the game was revealed. These changes.
Hmm.
So before the public even knew about it. Following
All right.
exterior playtests, they were accelerated further following the game's initial reveal and mass feedback. includes changing some of Yazek's story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensure the game is historically grounded while fitting the Assassin's Creed details, the universe. Sorry. So they are making some changes to make sure he's accurate, but they're not removing him.
Okay.
These issues should have been caught internally, but before the game's reveal. But given especially Ubisoft has a strict asset approval process, how these issues fell through cracks is the historical experts were brought onto the project much later than usual for a project of this magnitude, and miscommunication and cutting corners are also issues.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's a big mistake. A big thing about Ubisoft games, and even someone like me who's a casual about this, they're very very specific in terms of historical accuracy on like the location. The narrative can be whatever the heck it wants to be, but in terms of the actual location these games take place in, they're very authentic to the source material.
Just to cut in, do you know how many studios are working on Shadows?
How many?
15.
What is this, Call of Duty?
Well, that's what they've been doing with Assassin's Creed over the years. So I for sure believe there was some I want to say mismanagement, but like that's a lot of teams to manage and organize.
I mean, no wonder why there's some minor issues if like, well, minor from my perspective because I'm really like not sure about everything. Big in terms of like I heard about the Torygate thing, and that's like
yeah.
They really messed up there.
But although that is their fault ultimately, I would imagine that was the company like they hired out. They kind of screwed up. They just didn't double check it, I guess.
I mean, if you that's what, collector's edition item.
Yeah.
Well, you probably was part of the whole approval process on that, and I would imagine. So like that's something that even though we can be like empathetic to a point, that's something Ubisoft should have caught.
Yeah,
Like
it should have been researched, no doubt. But also another thing we have is the game has polished issues and bugs, which is pretty self-explanatory, but the game is simply not at a stage it needs to be for release, and they're also working on some tweaks to gameplay mechanics that they need time to incorporate. These issues were recently found in recent playtests and mock reviews.
So that's why I got delayed. That's the real reason why I got delayed. They realized they caught some these gameplay issues in recent playtests, and
they just like want to, I guess, add mechanics or adjust how mechanics work and in systems.
That makes a lot of sense. That they realize there are issues, big or small, and they want to take the time to fix that. And I'm all for a game being delayed to make it a better experience.
Yeah, I do think because they also discussed in the past before that how they mentioned what was it in the investor call with the Outlaws delay that they want to address things they usually prioritize for post-launch.
If you're launching a game, it should be launching in the best state possible, not a state that I will fix it later. Because having that mentality could completely cripple your game.
Also, there's word of them adding like additional side quests with this delay.
Makes sense. You gotta give all those teams something to do. Like, yeah, you're fixing gameplay stuff, but you just mentioned, there's 15 people, 15 teams working on this. You gotta give them something to do in the process.
That's a good point because another interesting aspect is Assassin's Creed Shadows co-op mode is also in development.
Ghost of Tsushima Legend says hello. How you doing?
This new co-op mode is codenamed League, and it's not supposed to come at launch. It's supposed to be post-launch. But we're supposed to say that this was long development before the delay.
That's not a surprise at all because like you have two playable characters. They can each tackle the levels differently. Imagine what would happen if you can play as both of them at the same time. and what that can do in terms of like the level design and all this other stuff. And it makes a lot of sense why there's a co-op mode, because you have two completely different playable characters. And the reason why, and but it makes me wonder: is it going to be like how I'm describing? Or is it going to be like what I alluded to earlier with my joke? Oh, is it going to be like Ghost Legends?
The details themselves are slim, but it says the car mode will see now where Yazaki fighting side by side.
I guess we'll see when it's
But
revealed
that's not
next
the
week.
end of this article, though.
Hmm.
That's not only understood that Shadows in this co mode is coming in 2025, but Assassin's Creed Invictus, the Fall Guys type inspired game from Assassin's Creed, is also coming. But not just that, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake was originally slated for 2025 November before the delay of Shadows, which means this possibly could get delayed to 2026. So they don't have 4 Assassin's Creed games in the same year.
That's too much. We'll
The
see.
fourth one is the mobile game from Tencent, but still the fourth game.
If it's a mobile game, I mean, if you're launching like a spin-off that's dedicated to mobile, console people won't really take that as, oh, it's another Assassin's Creed game.
It's still 4 games in 1 year, though.
That is a lot of games.
So
So
I
I guess
suspect, because Tom states that it's possible that the remake will get delayed to 2026.
you can push the remake to like the February slot
But
or
yeah,
March.
Skull and Bones just came out last year, did it not?
Yep.
That's kind of quick for a remake.
Hey, you got the assets. You might as well use them for something.
Yeah, it will also be using the new updated Anvil engine.
Not a surprise. Take advantage of the new tech you have.
Yeah. And then to wrap this Ubisoft story up, Tencent and Guillemot family are considering taking Ubisoft private.
Isn't that great? Tencent is gonna have a bigger stake in another game company. How many game companies do they have their hands in at this point? All
I
of them?
guess you have Epic.
Yeah. Minor stake in Nintendo. I think very minor. Like they have their hands everywhere.
Yeah, they sure do. But I mean, according to Bloomberg sources, they own right now 10% of Ubisoft. They helped the Guillemot fighters, Guillemot brothers, sorry, fight off the Vivendi takeover attempt.
Yeah, that was a while back.
So that's why they own like 10% right now, because they helped them, fight those guys off.
So they're probably gonna get like another 10-20% potentially.
Yeah, that's their plan. But yeah, Ubisoft is in a wild. Okay, so here's some stuff Tencent has stakes in. They own 100% of Riot Games.
Mm.
They had a minority stake in Activision Blizzard. They own Supercell mobile developer Krafton, PUBG, your Hi-Fi Rush.
God damn it.
Remedy,
Hmm.
and then the other developers are not of importance.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What a conglomerate Tencent is becoming.
The next Microsoft.
Yeah. But I think that's it for not Tencent, Ubisoft.
I think so too.
I'm just gonna wrap it up with, I think Shadows is their redemption time.
I hope so.
If they polish this game out and deliver an excellent game, I think it will do great. Even on Valentine's Day during Black History Month.
What a coincidence.
What a
Yeah,
coincidence!
what a coincidence that your main character.
Also, I think,
Hmm.
though that might be a reason, I think the real reason, because that's like right before the end of their fiscal year.
Yeah, that's a real reason. We're just joking around here.
But yeah, I really hope they can fix things. Ubisoft has potential to do great things.
They do.
It's crazy what type of IP Assassin's Creed is. It's like a major IP that's still so relevant today.
It's crazy. Like what was originally a a new version of Prince of Persia just turned into a complete juggernaut for them.
Yep. Like it's like a single player Call of Duty. But yeah, I think it's state of play time.
Yep. And I will just tee you off with what I cared about, which was and a thing I'll give smoke to. But what I was Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow the Hedgehog in a DLC pack for Sonic X Shadow Generations. When this DLC pack includes a undisclosed amount of levels based off of the Tokyo location from Sonic 3, and in these levels you play as the movie version of Shadow, voiced by Keanu Reeves. And they didn't show a ton in the trailer, but it was a full level. And at the recent TGS Sega booth thing, there was a full remix of Westopolis from Shadow the Hedgehog being played. So that there's a very high likelihood that the Tokyo level will have that as its main theme or something from the movie. And it's just really cool to see Sega actually have something to cross promote with their Sonic movies, because with Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, they did not have that, save for mobile stuff. With this, they actually have a big game launching very close to the film, and they have DLC releasing right when the film is basically going to be releasing. That's a big deal. That Sega actually thought ahead when they were making this Shadow game. But I thought that was really cool. And the one thing I will give smoke to Herman Holst, he, the leader of PlayStation Studios. He originally was the head of Guerrilla Games, and won't you know it? Not only do we have a Lego Horizon game to appeal to the little kittywinks out there, but we also have, drumroll please, Horizon Remastered. It's a remake of Horizon 1 that looks marginally better.
It's not a remake.
I'm trying to make a joke. Okay, it's a remaster that has 10
10
hours.
hours of new motion cap.
Wow, 10 hours of motion capture that could have been used for a new video game. Golly gee willikers. Anyway,
Or
despite
fix
me,
ugly face models.
the only benefit is they fix child Aloy. I will give them that win. I'll give them that single win. Anyway, and even though I'm clowning, I will give PlayStation this. I'm really happy they learned from their mistake of Last of Us Part 1, where they
They didn't
expected
learn
everything.
from it. These are just different works.
I feel like they learned from it, because ever since
Until
that
Dawn disagrees.
all right, it's all messed up. It's all wrong. It's all messed up. If you want to waste $10, well, spend whatever $10 on getting a native PS5 version of Horizon, you have that opportunity. Also, keep in mind that the version on PC that does not require a PlayStation Network login is now currently delisted unless you get a key off of a key site. Otherwise, if you want to play Horizon 1 on PC, you have to log into PlayStation Network when this remastered version releases. But anyway, enough me complaining about nothing. You actually educate everybody on what actually was shown off, even though I'll just waste some time memeing.
Well, if it's not clear, I disagree about the remaster situation. I'm impressed by what I was seeing. Although it's not a thing you need to buy, but I do think it is worth the $10 for what they've done, in my opinion. Especially if you like graphics. which clearly Arcade doesn't.
Stylized visuals for the win. But anyway,
Hey,
I
Horizon
derailed
has an
this.
amazing art style.
I will not shit. Sorry for cursing. I will not clown on Horizon as a visual spectacle. Even the original, both the original game and Forbidden West are beautiful looking games, and it is frankly amazing that both games already run at 60 frames on PlayStation 5 and they still look as good as they do.
Yeah.
And it's a fully open world. And with the second one, like they actually took the feedback with some of the stiff animation work and they made good, the story sequences look really good in an open world game, and a lot of open world games struggle with that. So I think what they accomplished with the engine they have and some things visually, it's very, very impressive. I just wish I cared more about Aloy. That's basically where I'm at with that. But maybe that's what the Lego game is for. Maybe they're trying to capture the kid in me with that. But
Yeah,
anyway, I derailed this too long. I'm
the
sorry, everyone.
adults in the playground and you.
Yes, the playground is good. Pause. Continue, my good friend. Continue.
Well,
You explain to everybody what's actually at the state of play thing.
yeah, I'll wrap up the Horizon thing is uh, I will probably buy this since I'm not a weeb and there's not many AAA releases this year, so I will be checking out the Horizon remaster.
Come on, man! You're not gonna get Sonic X Shadow Generations and see why I preach the good word of Sonic.
The good word of Sonic. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna leave that to you. I
Okay, good
don't have
friend.
much to say about the Sonic
Okay,
review.
okay, good friend. Thank you for reserving your negative comments. Please stay to play breakdown.
Horizon Lego, it looks cool, but much prefer the TT Lego games. This doesn't really look up my alley.
Honestly, I think what they're trying to do with that is it's emulating closer to the handheld Lego games, if you remember them, like on the
I never play
DS.
those.
Okay, on the DS and PSP, those Lego games were a lot more linear, and like the camera was perspective was more limited, and like the focus was less on exploration and more just breaking stuff and solving minor puzzles. Basically, the formula that the first two Lego Star Wars games kind of ran with. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to do with this, but lean harder on the co-op elements. That's my read on it at the very least.
Now, for the Nintendo thing, I have one comment to say before we
Yeah.
move on is, although to us gamers, it seems like these companies are battling, in quotations,
Mm-hmm.
often behind the scenes they're working with each other.
Oh, absolutely. PlayStation Publishing. Let's go. Can't wait for.
They don't hate
Great.
each other as much as the gamers think, is my point.
I can't wait for Ratchet and Clank and Astrobot to come to my Nintendo Switch 2 next year. It's gonna be awesome.
You don't think Sony is happy with the bag of cash Xbox threw them with MLB?
Oh, they're thrilled at that. Honestly, they're very thrilled with that.
Because you
And
know
the fact,
Sony does not like subscription services, and they have to approve putting one of their games on a subscription service on Xbox.
and it's and but they're probably like, listen, we don't like this, but we don't technically own this, so it's just a whatever at this point.
And they're like, just give me that money, and you can have it.
Yeah, we got
Like,
other
we'll
games.
take your money, Microsoft.
We'll take your money. We'll gladly take it. We'll gladly take your Indiana Jones and your Dunes, and we'll just sit back and just watch as you burn.
Now, this next, we can move on from Horizon.
Yes.
The next one will make Playground Arcade happy with the Astrobot DLC.
Yay! Let's go.
New speedrun levels and 10 special bots.
Helldivers and Stella Cheeks return. Let's go.
Speaking of, I didn't know the character from Returnal was one of the bots in the original Astro Playroom, like you can find for Astrobot.
I have to get. I never got around to doing that.
I didn't
Like,
either. I just recently discovered that.
One of the Bloodborne characters, I think, is there. There was
Yeah, that Bloodborne teasing, Sony knows what they're doing.
But you remaster games that already don't need the work. Anyway, off topic. Continue.
Can we?
Continue.
But I believe they said that's not all they have in store, so I guess there could be more DLC down the road.
I would not be surprised. Like, there's obviously, I would imagine. I think the next step is there might be a paid DLC thing with a more like extensive collaboration with Square. Because the thing with Square Enix, why they spoilers for Astrobot. The reason why Square Enix stuff was just not in the game is that unlike the other companies who just gave their thumbs up, with Square Enix they wanted actual money, and were very strict with like how their characters are represented. Hence why in Astro's Playroom, it was just the Buster Sword to represent Final Fantasy, and that was it. So I imagine, like, if we're going to get, like, Final Fantasy 7...
I have a theory about... I don't think Square's going to appear.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't appear, but
because I think the quote... I don't know if you saw that quote, but he said, "We respect our partners' wishes."
I would not be surprised, though, if Square Enix was given a PlayStation bag for some Astrobot DLC.
I think the reality is they're trying to seem less exclusive to PlayStation.
I don't really blame them, but like, please, Square Enix.
I wonder if they said, "Hey, if you let that Rebirth exclusivity go a little bit early, why not?"
If anything, if any Square Enix stuff makes its way into Astrobot, I would not be surprised if it's related to the non-Final Fantasy IPs like Nier or Dragon Quest. I think like that makes sense, maybe, because those franchises have history on PlayStation.
Oh yeah, but moving on, the October PlayStation Plus games. We have Dead Space Remake, which was one of my favorite games from last year. And then for the culture of arcade, Doki Doki Literature Club.
Hey, Colin vouches for that game too. Don't.
He's a closeted weeb, so that's.
Continue.
Alan Wake 2 expansion, The Lake House, which is like I guess expansion about it's more based on Control, but it's in the Alan Wake game.
Is that different from what they put out earlier? Or was that
that was the different one. That was like an expansion from like one of the NPCs basically.
Okay, because I remember when they is it like this? Is this when they released that deluxe edition? There was like Story Pack 1 and Story Pack 2. Is this Story Pack 2?
I believe. I'm not sure. But The Lake House is an expansion set in the eerie shores of Cauldron Lake within the Federal Bureau of Control's research station. Something has happened here where reckless experiments have caused reality to collide with the dark. And it's more about because Alan Wake has connections to Control, and it's more focused on that aspect for this expansion.
That's interesting.
Yep.
They're probably building up to Control, too, through this possibly because of what they're doing.
Yeah, they are. I have no doubt on that. Speaking of, Dragon Age the Veilguard got another showing.
I don't really care. I'm sorry, but I don't really care.
You're not alone.
Yeah, I don't really care about BioWare.
I have some negative comments, so you can go first.
Yeah, for me, in terms of BioWare, they did Sonic dirty way back in the DS days, and ever since then. No, not base. They basically cheaped out and just took it back from Sega and just made a lackluster game. I could be more brutal, but I'm trying to be PG. But it's one of the worst Sonic games ever made, and they made it. That's great. Yep. Awesome. Anyway, I hate you. Anyway,
I reserved you just for that part.
I hate you. Anyway, so I genuinely did try to play the Mass Effect games when they did that Legendary Edition, but for some reason I fell off. I don't know. One day I'll get. One day I will try them at some point, but Bioware just doesn't really. I guess the Western RPG just doesn't really appeal to me,
or
and
anything
that's
Western.
probably why I don't really connect with Bioware like some other people do. And whenever and the Veil God, I just kind of my eyes glazed over. I was like, oh, it's more Bio. Hopefully, people who like Bioware like this, and that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Well, I like Mass Effect. I do not care a single bit about Dragon Age.
So Dragon Age is basically just like you just wasting time. Give me Mass Effect already.
I don't know. Dragon Age makes me, because not sure if you know this, but there's a game. It's made of like all the Mass Effect veterans called, forgot what it's, something with E. I forgot. I'll have to look it up. But it's like former Mass Effect devs, and they're like making this new space IP that's kind of like Mass Effect.
Didn't they announce that at like one of the Game Award shows?
I think they
I could have
did.
remembered.
I
I,
was like, I'll have to look it up, but it also has that one famous actor, I believe. But yeah, that's basically Mass Effect 4 for me, like the spiritual continuation. Mass Effect 4 itself, I have little faith at the moment after looking at Dragon Age, but I hope they make their comeback.
Same.
I would just say I'm getting tired of looking at these fantasy games and they're all looking kind of generic to me.
Well, at least you got Kingdom Come Deliverance too. Like you
Well, that's
really
not
like.
fantasy, it's like a grounded historical game, basically.
Oh, you mean like high fantasy? You're thinking of,
Yeah.
right? So something like Baldur's Gate, maybe, or that.
Yeah, I'm just not into what the fantasy offerings at the moment. But yeah, the gameplay didn't do nothing for me. Every time I see this game, I get more disinterested.
They'll have the opposite effect.
Yes, it's like Deathloop. Do you remember Deathloop marketing?
Oh god, that was
They
great.
show that so much.
And then by the time it came out, I just straight up did not care. It's like, dude, you talked about this way too much. And when it eventually came to Xbox, because at the time I did not have a PlayStation, it's just like I don't really. So, okay, I tried it for like 30 minutes, and I just like, okay, it's whatever.
Yeah, the game I was talking about was called Exodus.
Yeah, I could have sworn they announced that at one of the Game Award things.
Possibly, I won't. I don't remember at this point. But isn't that the one by the publisher, the Hasbro company?
I
Yeah, it's
believe,
the parent organization is Hasbro.
huh,
I
the
don't
more
know
you
if you
know.
remember. Hasbro spun up like 4 teams, like AAA teams.
Yeah, I think one of them is doing something with Transformers,
I
maybe.
think GI Joe one was like an Arkham inspired game.
Yeah, that's really exciting, especially if like they lean into like the Cobra like side of things. That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have anything much else to say about Dragon Age.
Same,
Let's
I'm kind
continue.
of.
Did you see that Fortnite controller?
Yeah, it's awesome. I guess
It is hideous.
nothing to comment on. Maybe you hook it up, you get the one V-Buck.
Oh, I just like Fortnite with a passion, so no thank you.
I know, right? Isn't it great? You sync the control with your PlayStation, and you just suddenly get like one V-Buck every time you play a game with that.
No.
Wait,
Oh.
no,
You have something to say about?
no, I'm good. Continue.
Alright. Hell is Us. That was a game that really stood out to me that looked interesting.
Hell is Us. Is that the VR game, or is
No.
that? Can you
No.
describe it?
Hell is I remember. I don't know if you heard, but they did like quotes were saying this game's over a game that's about exploration. They won't hand you like waypoints or things on a silver platter. It's about making things, you know, you know what I
Is
mean?
this
It has like
is
some
this the
Kojima aspects too, in terms of its art design.
is this that like action game?
Yeah,
Okay, that was one. That was one that
And I
was
like those white creatures, like.
yeah. It was an action game that wasn't a Souls game, so I thought
Yeah, it's
that
not a Souls game.
definitely yeah that got my attention.
And they're like really going to exploration, not trying to, silver platter you.
As long as you're not Souls, I'm in. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they're not they're not Souls. They
That's
said
good.
that. They said they're semi-open world.
That's good.
I had a lot of Death Stranding vibes from that game, so it has me curious, but I'm not quite excited yet. But yeah, that was a cool game. So next we have that Hitman VR game. That looks
Yes,
pretty
VR too.
cool.
It's nice that they're actually acknowledging their VR thing that they tricked people into buying. But it
No,
looks really cool.
yeah, it looks really cool. I hope it plays well for people who have VR.
I would imagine it does because Hitman isn't like the kind of game, if from my understanding, where you're not like rapidly shooting people. Like it's high paced action. It's like methodical. You careful planning. So that adapts pretty well to VR and like the whole idea that you're teleporting around places, not actively just walking from point A to point B.
Well, speaking of remasters, here's two remasters you might actually be excited for. Legacy of Kain and Lunar.
Those are I'm so happy Legacy of Kain's coming back. That's such a PlayStation PS1 era like classic series that
By the
just
way,
kind
it's coming to PlayStation 4 too.
yeah, isn't that great that all these games keep coming out on PS4? It's almost as if PlayStation and Xbox aren't confident to to sever the cord of the old console.
I mean, PlayStation is confident. It's just what was it? What do they call? What's Embracer? That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Honestly, jokes aside, like I think that we're probably going to be still get PlayStation 4 games into excuse me 2026, and we'll probably fully cut off when games just cannot run. Then again, they got Jedi Survivor working on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One somehow, so maybe we might be in a situation where they're backporting games that come out originally as next gen only stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the Japanese games start doing that, like Square Enix. Like, I don't know how they can do it, but if they can get Final Fantasy 16 working on a PS4 or 7 Rebirth working on the PS4, maybe Square Enix would want to look into that to get more sales. Who knows? But going back on topic though, like that's the Legacy of Kain remasters and the Lunar remasters. Those are the kind of things I think of when I think of a remaster. Games that are genuinely old, that games that are inaccessible without you know digging out an old PS1 or resorting to emulation on your computer. Like these are games that you can't just legally buy without much like without going out of your way. You can just go on the PlayStation Store and download these and give the
Hmm.
developers the money they deserve, and it's awesome. And the quality of life things seemingly for Luna at the very least, they're adding a nice amount of quality of life stuff, and it's nice to see that more of these like legacy collections are coming out, and hopefully they continue to come out because Embracer owns so much stuff. Continue doing this. It's nothing but a win.
Everybody's favorite Aspire too.
Hmm. They to be fair, Spy did put out from they put out a good they did a good job with the Tomb Raider collection earlier this year. They messed up at the Battlefront collection infamously, and they did a good job on the Bounty Hunter thing they put out. So two out
Yeah,
of two, 2 out of 3 is something.
yeah, you'll be able to get your JRPG your socks knocked off.
What do you mean? Metaphor's coming out in literally like a week or two. That's
Exactly.
gonna But yeah, good to see more remasters that deserve the remaster treatment.
Oh, Lunar Spring 2025.
Nice.
And then Soul Reaver, I believe, is this December. Yeah, December 10th.
They won for Soul Reaver.
Happy to see Amy Hennig joint coming back.
Absolutely, that's where she started before going to New York of Uncharted.
Funny thing is, she wanted to work on Tomb Raider, but they didn't want to let her, so she went to Naughty Dog.
They weren't ready for Chloe Lara Croft. They were not ready for that.
Another VR game which is interesting is Metro. That's a big franchise, so interesting how that will go on VR.
I'm kind of wondering how well that's. Well, Hitman, I think is not going to have any issues running on PS5. The Metro games are known for being pretty heavy games. I'm
Well,
really
this is like a new Metro game designed for VR, whereas this is just Hitman 3 translated to VR.
It makes me wonder how it's going to run. Like, is it going to be one because it's because all VR games seemingly are natively like supporting PS5 Pro. So this is probably one of those games that I feel like could actually leverage the power to kind of keep the frame rate high enough for VR because the Metro games are beautiful and they're really like pushed like fidelity, and having that paired with VR where you have to like, from my understanding at the very least, you have to have 120 hertz for a VR headset. So hopefully, like for base PS5 owners, the game runs well. Because I remember, like, for people I never used the PSVR 1, but for those that have a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation VR 1, it looked awful playing some of those VR games on a base PS4.
Well, that's Metro. We have Monster Hunter also in February. Isn't that nice?
Hey, Avowed, maybe you should pack your bags and go to March or May. Just a
Uh,
heads up. It's friendly advice.
the shame walk though.
Yeah, just a friendly word of advice from Code and Culture podcast. If you hear us Xbox, push Avowed a month or two so it doesn't get swamped out by all these other games. Just word of advice. You don't have to listen to us, but we recommend that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's just insane when it's coming that month.
What is
Is it Yakuza as well?
Yakuza's coming out that month too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let me just list you the games: Civilization, Lost Record, and yeah, that was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and Kingdom Come Deliverance. 7
wow.
games.
You're playing in your case. You got your RPG. You're playing Kingdom Come,
I'm playing
like
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
and Assassin's Creed Shadows.
No, I'm delaying Kingdom Come. That's like an 80-hour game. I gotta.
That's gonna be your summer game, I bet, right?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I need to dedicate time to a game like that because they said
But
it's
like,
double the length of the original.
dude, like all these games coming out in February, you would think one of them will just push to
We're
like.
having this like annual tradition of a packed February for some reason.
I know, right? It's all. It has to be from COVID development. Like it
But why is
happened
it
like
February, not January, not March, but February?
it's a month of love. It's a month
Horizon
of.
Horizon was in February, and then you had a Rebirth in February, I think too. And now you have all these games.
Oh, that was hysterical. You had Forbidden West, and then you had
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. They really so close to each other.
We discussed Power, but it's
Yep.
now out in PS5.
Yep.
Then we have Stellar Blade crossover with Nier Automata.
Yes. One game about culture clashes with another game about culture and depressed androids. What's a win? It's definitely a win.
You're definitely bringing your culture part of this podcast.
Absolutely, absolutely.
An interesting game I thought was interesting. You remember the first game was called The Midnight Walk?
A midnight walk.
was like the first game was like this unique art style. Yeah, I think they had some claymation too.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That looks so good.
But the thing is, it's not just a VR2 game; it's a PS5 and VR game.
I like that because that means I'll play it.
Yeah, I thought the art style impressed me. I'm like, is this a VR game? And I read it's also a PlayStation 5 game, so I'm interested to see what it's gonna be.
What they probably realized was they spent a lot of time and money on this title, and then they saw how VR2 sold, and they're like, you know what? Let's just have a PlayStation. Let's have a 2D mode, so to speak, so people who don't want to buy a VR unit could experience our game because it looks gorgeous, and I can't wait to play that. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and then Teenage Mutant Turtles Shredder's Revenge got a new DLC, I think. Yep,
I have
Radical
to buy that
Reptiles.
DLC. I have to buy that DLC. That looks two new playable characters and a remix soundtrack. That's awesome.
Yep.
Oh, and in relation to that, they put out a new limited run collector's edition that includes all the DLC and everything. And Maddie's wallet is gonna be crying. He's like, he literally is like, come on, man! I just got my latest collector's edition from limited run.
And another story I forgot to cover was the announcement of the PS5 Pro and a re-announcement at the State of Play.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did a whole. They did a better job selling it at the State of Play, almost as if you announced it too early or something.
I don't know. Maybe you should have, perhaps use Ghost of Tsushima when you announce the Pro.
Yeah.
Not Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yate.
Or you know what? You actually show off more games that struggled on base PS5 that would benefit on the Pro. Like you showed off Jedi Survivor. Wouldn't it be great if you also included Final Fantasy 16? Other games that really struggled on PS5
I'm having a
actually
feeling that Square probably didn't want to play ball.
they play ball with Seven Rebirth.
Oh, did it? Oh, yeah, they did. Never mind.
I mean, I don't understand. I wouldn't be surprised if 16 gets a Pro patch. Just
Square
to just
Enix is a bipolar company.
they're weird.
They're very bipolar.
But the point I'm trying to get at is you have games that struggled on PS5 that have new hardware to benefit from it, and people like me are kind of thinking, you know what? If you actually justify the value of the $700 thing, maybe I'll be maybe I'll be a little kinder to it. Show games that are struggling on it, or do a real deep cut for the fans. PS3 emulation exclusive to the Pro. That would piss a lot of people off, like myself, but people like me be like, you know what? I may have to get one of these now if I want to actually play my PS3 library.
Well,
But
my take on the Pro is I have no issues with the price personally, but I understand it is an expensive console. But it's just what it is. It's gonna be what consoles will cost now.
thank you, PlayStation.
It's not really PlayStation's not completely their fault. It's just the hardware, the way it's going. If you
You know
look at
how
the,
Sorry, go ahead.
it's just they don't want to sell this console at losses anymore, especially post Concord.
Hey
They want to
man,
make some money back.
hey, brother. You know what? At least it isn't. You know what? We're so used to Xbox putting down the rakes. You know what? It's about time for PlayStation to put some down for themselves.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
they got the games to support their rigs.
I know, but like
Cough,
it's kind
cough,
of
cough.
tired. It's kind of tiring seeing Sideshow Bob keep stepping on those damn rakes every single day. Let's get someone new to step on the rakes once in a while. It's
Don't
nice.
worry. Xbox will step on some new rigs next week.
Hopefully not. Anyway, next game.
No, I was just gonna. I was talking about the pros. Like, I think those features are cool, but we have, I want to say 3.5 years left of this generation. I'd rather just wait it out to the PS6. That's my
That's
perspective.
honestly that's where I'm at. The realistic answer. That's what I'm at too. Like you're gonna be launching a new console in like 2-3 years. You just this feels like not to sound dismissive to the hard work that Mark Cerny and all these other people put into this box, it feels like a bit of a $700 paperweight when a lot of people who got to play.
I think the console is impressive because I've heard like it is some impressive stuff, but like I know the tech it's interesting. It is good, but it's just why get it now when I can just wait?
That's what my mentality was when the PlayStation 4 Pro was announced. I didn't feel compelled
I'm
to
also
get it.
living the perspective where I like my consoles lasting a whole generation.
Same. Like that's what I did with the PS4. And that's what I plan on doing with the PS5.
Yeah, I
And
beat
maybe,
Cyberpunk on a base PS4.
bro,
I'm not joking. I had beat that game on the base PS4, and then I got a refund after I beat it.
how that was
Some black
awful.
juju.
How? What did you do? Did you just smear your eyes in Vaseline?
No,
What
I
no.
was able to get through
How
it.
the PlayStation 4 didn't die on you trying to run that game?
No, I got loud. I mean, I played Red Dead Redemption 2, but every time I tried to, go back to Red Dead Redemption 2, those fans be running like an airplane.
I remember when I played Crash 4, the damn PlayStation 5 was like screaming, wanting to take off. Same with I remember when I originally got Ghost and I played it for like an hour or so. Like it was like I think the same year it came out. I had chose between that and Last of Us 2. I picked that, and like my just playing the game, my PlayStation was crying, and I was so scared. Like if I keep playing, this thing's gonna blow up. It's ridiculous.
I beat Red Dead Redemption 2, but I wanted to replay. I tried to replay it. I'm like, I can't. This noise is too much. But thankfully, this holiday is quite empty, so it's time for me to return to Red Dead Redemption, the best game of the last generation.
No comments because I never played it, but I'm glad you love the game.
Now, saving the best for last. It
Let's
is
go.
Ghost of Yōtei. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I think you pronounced it correctly.
Yes, we have seen our sneak peek the next Ghost game, which wasn't focused more on the narrative, but more on the open world. And then it is a beautiful game from what we've seen. Like you say, you like stylized art style, but this is stylized realism.
I'm not like listen, man. I'm not knocking on what they're doing here. It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. It looks like they took what they established with the last one and just polished the heck out of it and refined it in places and did what they could to leverage the PS5 while keeping in mind of a potential like performance mode of some kind. Like it looks really impressive, and
I honestly think it'll be 60 on the base PS5 too.
I think so too because I feel like with PlayStation,
I feel
it's
like
a very
PlayStation Studios has been gearing towards like keeping the 60 consistent.
I think at this point when it comes to PlayStation, they have a mandate in place for all their like exclusives, where like first and third party, where you need to have a performance mode or 60 FPS as standard because that's what we sold people,
Yep.
and the reason why I believe that is every single damn exclusive game on PS5 runs at 60 frames per second, regardless if Sony has their hand on it fully or they have their hand on it partially. In the case of Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, etc., every single exclusive runs at 60. A very stark contrast to Xbox, where it's a coin toss if your game's going to get 60 or not. It's very impressive, and I would be very surprised. And they did the Spider-Man did the same market this too in their marketing. Like remember all the footage of Spider-Man 2 came out, it was 30 frames. And you heard me. I was dead set believing they're not gonna get 60 in this. And they do. And it had ray tracing as well. So I fully believe that what goes to Yahweh. I probably
Yate.
go say Yaute. I go say
Every New Yorker
Yaute,
tries
motherfucker.
to say a Japanese word.
I speak my Japanese at my Italian. I'm sorry, everyone. Anyway, the point is, I'm killing you over there. The point I'm getting at is PlayStation prioritizes performance, and I appreciate that as someone who thinks making sure the console experience is good is just as important as getting the PC experience is good. But enough about technical stuff. Let's talk about like the whole thing of Jin's not the playable character anymore. It reminds me of you brought this up in DMs. It you very good point with like the Phoebus Raccoonus and Sly Cooper, where like they have these different ants, the different like legends throughout like every era, and I think that's kind of what they're going with Ghost of
Yate.
Yate.
Just
Ghost
say
of
Ghost
Yate.
2. Stop
Oh,
hurting yourself.
Ghost 2. And everyone's gonna be like, why is he speaking in such a thick New York accent? He's more annoying than usual. Anyway,
This is perfect material for a YouTube short.
I know, right? It's awesome. Anyway, but I think I really like the idea that what they want to do with Ghost as a franchise is they're looking at what they did with the 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 Sly Cooper series, and lesser extent what Ubisoft does with Assassin's Creed. In every game or every series of games, they have a new character, and they use that as a fresh start to kind of explore gameplay ideas and all this new story possibilities, so on and so forth. And while a lot of people connected with Jin, like I know,
A
like
lot of people also didn't.
a lot of that too. And so it's probably a case of, PlayStation Sucker Punch looking like we have an opportunity to tell a new story with a new character. And if people want to experience Jin's story, we have a version of the game already on PlayStation 5 right
I,
now and PC.
and they're going to be retelling it with the movie.
And a remaster of this
Speaking of a
lineage.
movie, I have to quote Herman Holst, the man himself.
Oh, of course, of course.
Ghost of Yate is the linchpin, keyword linchpin, in our strategy to expand Ghost of Tsushima universe across multiple forms of media. The game will not only push the boundaries of what we can achieve in interactive storytelling, but also serve as a foundation for future projects, films, series, and other entertainment ventures.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that we're gonna get a Ghost of Tsushima director's cut remaster when the movie comes out, and that's gonna be great. Could be amazing.
I think potential. Actually, no, the Ghost movie would not be ready yet.
I joke,
Oh no, I
but
was just gonna speculate. Maybe they would time the movie with the release of the sequel, but the timelines don't match.
no, the games. I'm
Because they haven't even started
imagine.
filming yet, so there's no way they launch it next year.
I don't. There's a possibility that PlayStation maybe announce this early, and this might get delayed till early 2026.
I've heard some things like they're not sure if they want it to be a movie or TV show.
Hmm. They can go either way with it, honestly.
But yeah, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But now, what's good? Oh yeah, I think the multimedia ventures they're gonna lead to some spin-offs. That's the key.
Well, if
Because
what
you don't have to be limited to Japan. There's TV shows, movies, books, comics you can do.
Ghost of New York, let's go.
Yeah, I do think they have the potential to leave Japan. They don't have to stay in Japan.
You know, this is a perfect excuse to bring back Sly Cooper, Ghost of Cooper, and
No,
Sly Cooper spinoff. But
Sly is dead.
No, Sly's not dead. This is me coping. This is me coping. I'm preaching to the choir. This is how we're gonna get
I
Sly
like
Cooper
Sly
back.
Cooper, but we all know only two platform IPs remain.
This is how we're gonna. This is how. Hear me out. All right, hear me out. This is how we're gonna get Sly Cooper back. So, in the lineage of the ghost legend, there's this one raccoon Sly Cooper, and he's
I just had a funny thought.
yeah. Go ahead.
What if during Ghost of Yōtei your wolf companion hunts a raccoon?
You killed my idea. You killed me in my tracks. I hate you. Anyway,
Well, that'd be so funny though. If your wolf just brings you like a dead raccoon back.
and the raccoon has a blue hat. just to pour salt in the wound, and have
This is Sucker
Mr.
Punch saying, "We control Sly Cooper. No one else will work on it, and it's dead."
And you have Mr. Matty just basically just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna not play this for a day. Why did you do this to me, Sucker Punch? Why?
But yeah, I'm real excited for Ghost of Yōtei. It's
Go
clear
say Yate.
I expect a DualSense controller, and I want it.
Absolutely, and PlayStation.
I avoided getting the
5
Astro
Pro
controller because I knew that Ghost controller was coming.
obviously, and I hope you're able to get it.
Yeah, shouldn't be hard. I mean, it's not a 3-year anniversary controller.
That's not a Concord controller, you know. That's gonna go
That Concord
for.
controller looked nice though.
You got to sell a kidney for that controller now.
But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Ghost.
Same.
Before we wrap, I want to talk about two small Xbox stories. Spread the love around because we talk most about PlayStation this episode.
Yep.
Halo has a third-person mode.
Yes, this is basically what the meme, and you probably saw in Duke chat, is this. Oh, this is how Xbox is going to get PlayStation fans like Halo.
I don't know if you saw, but it's also been reported that Halo Battle Royale was canceled.
But I feel you mentioned that, and I think that's why this third-person mode is probably being added to Infinite. This is like the leftover, like, assets and stuff that what they got done with the Battle Royale mode, and they're like, you know what? Instead of gutting this, let's just make a new mode or like a new camera perspective for the multiplayer mode. Because we did all the work. Why are we gonna throw it out?
Yeah, it just makes sense that they're like, Halo Infinite's gone. Let's just move on to the next Halo game.
At this point, like, it's been
It
around
just
for
sucks because they could co-develop with Coalition like for what, 2 years?
Yeah, man, like, I really enjoy the Infinite multiplayer, and it's what Microsoft needs to really do is they need to look at Halo and just give it the respect that they give the Gears franchise. They let them take their time.
Also, a funny thing, I wonder if they had the third-person mode was inspired by COD, because COD added a third-person mode in 2022.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like,
Because,
they talk to their COD brethren, give us some feedback on our Halo franchise.
I mean, why not? You own them. You might as well take advantage of that relationship.
Oh yeah. But I think it's coming to PS5.
I would not be surprised. Like, I joke, but that's probably one of the things they included to kind of make it easier for PS5 people or PlayStation guys who never played Halo. Hey, there's a third person mode. If you love your third person over the shoulder games, right? Here you go. Halo's that now. I'm joking, but like, it's a nice feature to have, and at this point of how much content Infinite has, if you're going to be bringing an Xbox game over the PlayStation, I really feel like Halo Infinite is probably one of the best choices you have because of the multiplayer suite and like everything. And even if you just don't even acknowledge the single player aspect of it, the multiplayer alone is worth it as a free to play game. Or maybe what they can do is that they could relaunch the game as like a paid thing, and you get like a legacy end of service thing. You launch it as like $20-$30 release. It includes a multiplayer and a couple of skins and all this other stuff. You have a free to play option, but like an anniversary, like 4 years or not 4 years, like a 3-year anniversary. I think it's 3 years old at this point. I'm not sure, but they could do something to make it like it's special for everybody when it launches on PlayStation.
Yeah. Speaking of another Xbox story, Starfield.
Yeah, Shattered Space. Let's go.
Shattered technical issues.
I can't believe they did not optimize the performance mode in line with this DLC. Like,
Especially if you drive that buggy, it like crashes immediately.
That's crazy. Like, I don't understand why they didn't just take the time to just, or they could just preface and say this isn't compatible with the performance mode option we have on console. They could have just said that.
I just think this was in development before like they added the buggy/car.
And that just breaks the whole game.
Yeah.
But then why?
But
Then
that's
why
not the other tech,
use it?
just for this specific bug, not like all the bugs.
But
But
then
yeah, and the expansion seems to be disappointing some of even the most loyal Bethesda fans.
Shout out to Defining Duke, Mr. Matty Plays did a very good job breaking down why he wasn't as enthused as he hoped he would have been with the DLC.
Yeah. I haven't played it myself. I haven't played Starfield in like a year, but it's kind of unfortunate to see because I was hoping the expansion would bring me back.
I was considering downloading the game again on a gaming laptop to see how
Also,
it works.
the main story is like 5 hours long.
I think I don't. I hope
What are they doing for a year?
I had to make a guess. They probably used the bulk of that year optimizing it for Xbox consoles.
But I thought there was like a separate team before Starfield even came out that was working on expansion.
If I had to make a guess, they had a very small team working on the DLC, and then once they got the game fully optimized on Xbox with the performance mode earlier this year on Series X, that's when full development on a DLC started, and that's why the content is seemingly as bare bones as it is.
Yeah.
But again, I'm commenting on like what I've heard from Duke. I haven't played it, so I don't really have a fair.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on the experience, but it just seems like there's some stuff missing that should be there.
And I feel like at this point, like if you're going to be launching this game on other places, it should be in the best state it should possibly be in right now. And
Yeah.
the fact that it isn't is surprising, considering how much of a big deal this was for Xbox. But maybe because this DLC was in development alongside the base game, the next DLC, now that they kind of have the mod support in mind, they got the performance mode in mind, they got all this other stuff in mind, is probably going to be a better expansion. But at that point, are people going to come back? That's a genuine question. So hopefully when Bethesda makes their next DLC, they take the lessons learned from Shattered Space.
Yep. And then to wrap this up, Silent Hill 2 just came out this week. I think today, actually.
And it reviewed well.
Yes, it did.
Everyone's
Shockingly.
surprised. The Luba team killed it because they were basically given the script and they didn't have to make one themselves. And they're just able to do what they're good at, which is impressive visuals and moody atmosphere. So
yeah,
I might give
good
this
job
a shot.
on them. I'm
I
not
might
gonna
give this
play it, but I'm sure
What,
my
you're not a
Silent
fan?
Hill.
You're not a horror dude, or oh no,
No,
you're a horror dude. You like Dead Space.
I like Dead Space, but I don't like horror generally. Dead Space is like the exception.
I might get it at sometime this. It wasn't on my radar at all, but hearing the good reviews, I might give this a shot. I'm really happy this turned out well because Silent Hill is a franchise that from Konami that hasn't gotten the same treatment that Metal Gear and Castlevania has, where you can just if you want to play all the older games, you can easily get any of the collections and play a fair amount of those games. Well, in the case of Castlevania, basically damn near all of them as of this point. With Silent Hill, that hasn't been the case at all. And when they last attempted this, you got the HD remasters on PS3 and 360, which speak for themselves, and there's been no official way to play Silent Hill 2, and that's one of the best ones for a lot of people. So being able to have a easily accessible version of Silent Hill 2 that is a authentic, faithful remake from the reviews at least, it's awesome. And hopefully, like, since Bloober Team
Is it like
proved,
double the length of the original?
I am not sure. I haven't read all the reviews,
Because
so
I
I can't.
heard it was like the first one's like 7-8 hours, and the new one is 15 hours.
Maybe they expanded portions, kind of like what 7 Remake does with Midgar. I would not be surprised if they expanded some parts to account for like the more action
Yeah,
focused
it took 8 to 10
elements.
hours, and the new one takes about 20 hours.
Hmm. Well, I remember the original Silent Hill 2 had a lot of endings, so maybe they decided to kind of condense all the endings into one thing. Maybe I'm not sure how it works,
I
but
don't know, but it's double the
I'm
length basically.
not. I wouldn't be surprised if Bloober Team is, as of right now, working on
Oh,
Silent.
here I have some stuff. It
Ooh,
includes new areas and expanded environments, more complex and multi-step puzzles, some new story element and character interactions,
that's interesting. That it still got like the critical praise. It's not a
new endings, and new game plus.
new endings. Hmm.
And,
Maybe this is. Go ahead.
and the combat system is also pretty different. So
If I had to make a guess, Blue Team's probably got the green light to make Silent Hill 3 now because this was successful.
I don't know if Silent Hill really has the power, because
I mean,
as you saw with Dead Space remake, it was a great game, but it didn't get the sales it did.
well, in Dead Space case, thankfully, 2 is a damn good game on its
No, I
own
think their next game they want to make it a new original game.
for the next Dead Space project.
Yeah,
Well, Motive is busy on what?
Iron Man.
Battlefield? Iron Man, yeah, they're busy right now. So if I had to make a guess, that's their focus. And probably when it's
They're
time
also
to.
working on the Battlefield campaign.
Yeah, so by the time they get around to the next
Yeah,
Dead
but
Space
like it was a pitch they made. They just got rejected because of the sales, I guess.
if they make another Dead Space project anyway, it's probably not going to release until next gen. If they're busy with Iron Man.
Yeah, but like now it's for sure not happening.
In that case, if people like horror, they should be supporting Silent Hill. Because if people, I got Dead Space at launch. I only played a little bit of it, but I remember really liking Dead Space 2. Then I wanted to put on my wallet, and I got Dead Space because I wanted more. And hopefully people who've been screaming from the top of their lungs, we want Silent Hill. Here's Silent Hill. Buy this and the inevitable like HD collection of games that Konami puts out, because you know they're gonna put one out. They did one with Metal Gear recently. They've been doing it with Castlevania. I think they did it with Contra. Next, this is the only other franchise they realistically have to make a big remaster collection for. Show out, support it if it's good, because that's the only way. That's the only way these companies kind of get stuff off the ground. If you don't like that's why I do the best I can. Like when Epic Mickey the remaster came out recently, I got that day one because I want to see that franchise continue. I'm always day one with Sonic, even if the quality isn't particularly great, because I want to see more Sonic. Like same thing with I really love the 16 demo, so I got that day one. I really enjoyed Hi-Fi, so I bought that on PlayStation when it eventually came to that, and I got the DLC on Xbox. Like, if you really want more of something to happen, you buy it, and if it's a good game, especially in the case of this remake, you buy it. So, for the Silent Hill people out there who like been screaming, we want more Silent Hill, buy the remake. And for Xbox people and PC, is it coming to PC day one?
I can let me double check.
I think it is. I'm not sure.
But yeah, it is coming to PC starting October 8th, 2024.
Okay, so it's launching on PC very close to the PS5 version, or at launch. So buy it
Yeah.
on PC and PC or PlayStation if you have access to either console or platform. And if it comes to Xbox, buy it on there. Like you support this game.
If it comes to Xbox, it's such an evergreen statement.
Don't get me started on Xbox basically begging people.
Do you see that
Hey,
survey?
I heard about it. I just laughed and looked the other way because Xbox should know what the problem is at this point. It's hysterical. Like
That shows how
it,
not serious they are.
it's I appreciate that they're trying to figure out what the problem is, but the problem is something
I
that's
don't think they're trying to
obvious.
figure it out. I think they're just trying to do some PR.
Like you have let me just go let's just end the episode with just this. So Xbox recently put out a state like they reach out to developers after multiple games from smaller indie titles, AA titles to major like collections from Capcom and like are skipping the console, and they're asking why aren't you coming out on Xbox? Can you give answers why? And let me just go make a list of reasons why games aren't coming to Xbox. One, your platform isn't particularly doing amazing in specific regions. Two, when you're developing on Xbox, you also have to develop for Xbox Series S. And if it's a bigger title, that title is going to struggle on that platform. And it takes more time to optimize it. And if you're not providing the resources to that developer to get their game on the Series S, then it just adds more resources and finances to get your game out on Series S. Three, you're making very confused public statements on the future of your console. So it tells smaller developers, is it even worth bringing our games to this platform if it's not going to exist in a few years, potentially? Four, the fact that like you for Japan for like the fact of the matter is you want to chime in as other reasons. I came up with three.
Xbox gotta be Xbox. That's my words. I don't think they're gonna do anything about it. I think it's some PR BS.
Honestly, I don't. I feel like what Xbox needs to realize is and I feel like they're starting to kind of put the dots together with recent when they brought the, as you see in the background of my thing, they brought the pixel remasters over to Xbox finally. When they're not Game Pass though, but if you buy it on Xbox, you can get it on the Windows Store. So it's play anywhere, and you can play it on your Xbox or your laptop, or if you have one of the Windows handhelds, you can play them on there. Metaphors are going to be the same exact deal. No Game Pass, but play anywhere. And I feel like with Xbox, what they need to do is they need to streamline the process where one version of a game runs on everything in their ecosystem without any issues for the developer and for the consumer. And that is a thing that might be a bit daunting for like the bigger titles, but if your future is to be a multi-platform publisher like Sega, but still sell boxes that are basically a Game Pass machines that also let you buy games natively on there. You need to make things as easy as possible for developers. And if you're making unnecessary roadblocks, like you can't put out an Xbox One version of a game, despite the fact that developers are putting out Xbox One versions of games in the case of the Capcom stuff. Because I guarantee you, the Capcom games, those are going to be Xbox One. They're not going to have the Series X branding. Also interesting, like the Pixel remasters, they're native Xbox Series games. On PlayStation, they're just straight PS4 games. Why? Because part of the Microsoft mandate process, I imagine, where they're trying to phase out the Xbox One. And understandable, that wasn't really a successful console. But you got to keep in mind, developers are still making games on PlayStation 4. You want to know why? Because it's easier for them. They know there's an audience there. So if the partner has an Xbox One version of their game, just let it come out on Xbox. Just let it come out. Even if it's a minor headache for your backup at team, have them do something. They're clearly not adding any more games to the backup hat service. That would be nice, but you're not doing that. But I don't want to go into a rant. But the point is, Xbox, you're making efforts to get more games on your platform, and I personally appreciate that. But for me, it's just baffling that it's a problem in the first place when you're Microsoft. It isn't like you have a Nintendo Switch.
Scrappy.
Don't. No, we're not doing that right now.
That quote, we're scrappy underdog.
We're not doing that. We're not freaking doing that. It's not like the Nintendo Switch where it's a potato and developers actively have to really squeeze a game down to get it working on the Switch.
You see, publishers actually come to Switch and release that games on the potato.
Yeah, they put in the effort because they think it's worth it. But with an Xbox, it shouldn't be hard because it's a closed Windows machine. It shouldn't be hard for developers to bring the games to Xbox, but it is somehow. And it's the Series S that's also holding things back a little bit, even though like it's more than possible to get games on Series S, even with 60 frames options. It takes more time, and developers don't have that luxury. So Microsoft needs to step in and just foot the bill and do the work themselves if need be. You can't miss a game like Black Myth. You can't miss like the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. You can't. These are easy wins for you, and that because you didn't do it at launch, you're playing catch up. That can't happen again. And hopefully, after this Final Fantasy exclusivity stuff with 7 Remake Part 3 and what's been done already, Square doesn't miss the platform anymore, because that's one and Capcom. Those are developers and publishers you can't afford to miss your platform. And that's my piece on that.
Well, I think we've spoken enough Xbox.
Yes.
We made the Xbox rant smaller than usual.
Yes.
The last 2 times it was quite big and long.
Yes. Phil Spencer, you're mucho loco.
Phil Spencer got no power anymore.
No, Phil Spencer is just the talking head for Microsoft gaming.
Yes. Well, I don't know if you saw, but Jason Schreier said, "Who knows if the handheld will actually come to fruition? They change their mind every couple of months."
I'm done ranting about Xbox. I'm nothing else to say. It's kind of late on my end.
For me, I'm more of an outsider perspective, but you're more of a fan than I am.
I wouldn't even call myself much of a fan. I've ascended to PC games.
Former fan.
But I still value my Xbox, and I just wish for the people who, it just sucks if you only own an Xbox and you see all these great games missing your platform, and it's not even just the exclusives like 16 or 7 Rebirth. It's just even these smaller games that typically wouldn't skip the platform or skipping the platform for whatever reason. It makes no sense. So
Well, on that note, let's wrap up this episode.
yes, it's been a good talk.
Yes. Well, we stayed under 3 hours, so that's a dub.
Yay!
Thank you guys for everyone for tuning in. And before we go, I want to just mention, I don't know if you guys know, but this month is a common event in game development they call Blocktober, which is where game developers go and talk about some of the how they blocked out levels and designed some levels. I
That's
recommend
awesome.
checking out one of the Cyberpunk devs released something. It's a fun event that game developers like to do.
Oh, so is that why Another Crab's Treasure developer released that out the prototype of their
Oh,
game?
oh, did they? That's interesting.
Yeah, they did. They released a prototype of like a super early version of the game. Maybe that I didn't even. I thought that was just them just being like, "Oh, let people try this," but I didn't. Maybe it's related to this.
Yeah, it's they call it Blocktober. It's just like an event they do like October. Like a lot of game devs share some stories about designing these levels.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I recommend people check it out.
Nice. I'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
And that is Press X, the Coding Culture podcast.
Yes. Or as let me try to say it in my broken Press X Coding Culture podcast.
It just
I'm
sounds like
sorry.
a broken Italian. Well, wrap us up and say Ghost of Yōtei again.
Everybody enjoy Ghost of Yōtei on the PlayStation 5.
Or the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Nah, we don't talk about that. Yeah, I'm not sorry.
Well,
That's
that
too
was a fun
much.
one. Have a good one, guys.
Have a great one, everyone. Thank you for listening.